Lieutenant Emma Sullivan stared at the planet through the observation window. The blue and green world spun slowly below her ship, peaceful and quiet. She had been in space for 3 years now, but something about this planet made her chest feel tight. Commander Gregory Walsh stood beside her. His face looked older than usual. His hands gripped the metal railing hard enough that his knuckles turned white. "The Covenant has spoken," he said. His voice was flat and cold. "We cannot go down there, not for any reason." Emma looked at him. She had served under Walsh for 2 years. He was a good commander, fair and brave, but right now he looked scared. She had never seen him scared before. The Covenant was the name humans gave to the alien alliance that controlled most of the galaxy. The leaders of the Covenant called themselves the Eldest. They were tall creatures that looked like giant insects. They had hard shells and too many legs and eyes that gleamed like black glass. When they spoke, their mouths clicked and buzzed in ways that made humans uncomfortable. The Eldest had found humanity 5 years ago. They came to Earth with ships that blocked out the sun. Everyone thought it was an invasion. Everyone thought humanity would die. But the Eldest did not attack. Instead, they offered humanity a place among the stars. They shared technology. They opened trade routes. They showed humans how to travel between solar systems without taking decades. There was only one rule. The Eldest had forbidden zones scattered across the galaxy, planets that no one could visit, places where contact was absolutely prohibited. If a species broke this rule, the punishment was exile, cut off from all trade, all technology, all contact with the rest of the galaxy, alone in the dark forever. The planet below was one of those forbidden zones. "Sir, I need to show you something," Emma said. She pulled out her datapad and brought up the sensor readings. "We have been scanning the surface for 3 days. There are life signs down there." Walsh did not move. "The Eldest told us this planet was empty." "They lied." Emma swiped through the data. "There are 47 humanoid signatures on the surface. Based on their size and bone density, they are children. The oldest might be 15. The youngest is maybe 5 years old." Walsh finally turned to look at the datapad. His face went pale. "That is impossible," he said. "The readings do not lie, sir. There are children down there, human children, based on the genetic markers we picked up. They are living in the ruins of what looks like an old research station. There are no adults, no ships, no rescue equipment. They are completely alone." Walsh took the datapad from her hands. He stared at the data for a long time. Emma could see his jaw working, teeth grinding together. "The Eldest called them abandoned cubs," he said quietly. "When we asked about the life signs, they said the cubs were left behind for a reason. They said any contact would doom both our species." Emma felt anger rise in her chest. "They are children, not cubs, not animals. Children." "I know what they are, Lieutenant." Walsh handed back the datapad. His voice was hard now. "I also know what the Eldest can do. I have seen the quarantine worlds. Dead civilizations floating in space because they broke the rules. Entire species that will never see the stars again because they defied the Covenant. So we just leave them?" Emma could not keep the anger out of her voice. "We sit up here and watch children starve?" "We observe. We document. We report to Earth and let them decide." Walsh turned back to the window. "That is an order, Lieutenant." Emma wanted to argue. She wanted to scream. But she was a soldier. She knew how to follow orders, even when they made her sick. "Yes, sir," she said. She left the observation deck and went to her quarters. The room was small and gray, like every other room on the ship. She sat on her bed and pulled up the sensor data again. The thermal signatures glowed on her screen, small points of warmth moving through cold ruins. 47 children. 47 lives that no one wanted to save because of some ancient alien law that nobody understood. Emma switched the display to real-time video. The cameras on the ship were powerful enough to see the surface clearly. She zoomed in on the settlement. The buildings were broken and crumbling. Walls had fallen down. Roofs had collapsed. But someone had tried to fix them. She could see patches made from scrap metal and plastic sheets. Small gardens grew in the spaces between buildings. Clothes hung on lines to dry. The children moved through the ruins like ghosts. They worked in groups, the older ones watching over the younger. They carried water from a stream. They picked vegetables from the gardens. They moved with purpose and organization. Emma watched one group gather around a fire pit. They sat in a circle, sharing food from a single pot. The older children made sure the younger ones ate first. When the meal was done, they cleaned the dishes together. Then they scattered to different tasks. These were not wild animals. These were not monsters. These were children who had learned to survive against impossible odds. Emma felt tears on her face. She wiped them away angrily. 3 days turned into a week. Emma spent every free moment watching the settlement. She learned their routines. She learned how they worked together. She started to recognize individual children by their movements and behaviors. There was a tall boy, maybe 14, who seemed to be the leader. He made decisions and settled arguments. There was a girl with red hair who always carried a smaller child on her hip. There was a group of middle children who spent their days fixing buildings and maintaining tools, and there was one little girl who worried Emma more than the others. She was small, maybe 7 years old. She had dark hair that hung in tangles around her face. She wore a jacket that was too big for her, the sleeves hanging past her hands. She often sat alone at the edge of the settlement, staring up at the sky. Emma watched this girl more than the others. There was something about the way she moved, the way she sat so still for hours. It reminded Emma of herself as a child, after her parents died. That look of someone waiting for help that would never come. On the 10th day of observation, something changed. Emma was in the sensor bay, running her nightly check of the settlement. Most of the children were asleep in their shelters. But the little girl with the dark hair was awake. She had left the settlement and was walking toward an open clearing. Emma leaned closer to the screen. The girl was dragging something behind her, a blanket, maybe, or a piece of cloth. The girl reached the clearing and spread the cloth on the ground. Then she sat down on it and looked up at the sky. Emma frowned. The girl was not just looking at the sky. She was looking at a specific point in the sky. She was looking directly at the horizon's edge. "That is impossible," Emma whispered. The ship was in high orbit, thousands of kilometers above the surface. There was no way the girl could see them with her naked eyes. No way she could know exactly where they were. But the girl kept staring. And then she did something that made Emma's blood run cold. She waved. A small, deliberate wave. Not random, not to the sky in general, to the ship, to Emma. Emma's hands shook as she activated the long-range audio sensors. This was against protocol. This was against orders. But she had to know. The audio crackled to life. Emma adjusted the frequency, filtering out wind and background noise, and then she heard it. A small voice, a child's voice, speaking perfect English with no accent at all. "I know you are there," the little girl said. "My name is Sophie. Please help us." Emma sat frozen in front of the screen. The girl's voice echoed in her ears. "Please help us." 3 simple words that changed everything. She played the recording again and again. Each time, the girl's voice was clear and steady. No fear, no begging, just a simple request from one human to another. Emma saved the file and stood up. Her legs felt shaky. She had to tell Walsh. She had to show him what she found. But it was the middle of the night. The ship ran on minimal crew during sleep hours. Emma checked the time. 0300 hours. Walsh would be asleep in his quarters. This could wait until morning. It had to wait until morning. Emma tried to sleep, but couldn't. She lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. Every time she closed her eyes, She saw the little girl looking up at the stars. She heard that small voice asking for help. At 0500 hours, Emma gave up. She got dressed and went to the mess hall. A few crew members were there, eating breakfast before their shift started. Emma got coffee and sat alone at a corner table. "You look terrible," a voice said. Emma looked up. Lieutenant Kate Martinez slid into the seat across from her. Kate was the ship's communications officer and Emma's closest friend on the horizon's edge. "Didn't sleep," Emma said. "I can see that." Kate sipped her own coffee. "What is going on? You have been weird all week, ever since we got to this planet." Emma wanted to tell her. She wanted to show Kate the recording and ask what to do, but she also knew that would make Kate part of this. If Emma had broken protocol, Kate didn't need to be pulled into it too. "Just tired," Emma said. "This mission is getting to me." Kate didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. They finished their coffee in silence. Then Kate went to start her shift, and Emma headed to Walsh's office. She found him already awake, sitting at his desk with a cup of tea. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His uniform was wrinkled. "Lieutenant Sullivan," he said when she knocked, "you are up early." "Sir, I need to show you something. It is about the planet." Walsh's face tightened, but he nodded. "Come in. Close the door." Emma entered and pulled out her datapad. She queued up the recording and handed it to him. "I activated the long-range audio sensors last night. I know it was against protocol, but sir, you need to hear this." Walsh took the datapad. He pressed play. Emma watched his face as he listened to the little girl's voice. His expression did not change, but his hand gripped the datapad harder. When the recording ended, Walsh was quiet for a long time. Then he played it again, and once more after that. "This is impossible," he said finally. "She could not know we are here. She could not see us from the surface." "I know, sir, but she does know. And she is asking for help." Walsh set down the datapad. He stood and walked to his window, looking out at the stars. "The eldest said these children were dangerous. They said contact would be catastrophic for both species." "What if they are lying?" Emma moved to stand beside him. "Sir, what if the eldest are hiding something? What if they want these children to die?" "Why would they want that?" "I don't know. But I know those children are human. They are our responsibility." Walsh turned to face her. "I will contact the eldest. I will request permission to make contact. We will do this through proper channels. That could take weeks. Those children might not have weeks. Then we better hope the eldest move quickly." Walsh's voice was firm. "I will not risk this ship and crew on a violation that could exile all of humanity." "We do this by the rules, Lieutenant. Return to your station." Emma wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Walsh had made his decision. She saluted and left his office. The next 3 days were torture. Emma watched the settlement constantly. She watched the children work and play and survive. She watched Sophie, the little girl who had called to them, as she moved through her days. Sophie was different from the other children. Emma noticed it more now that she was paying attention. The other children were busy, always moving, always working. But Sophie often stopped and stood still. She would tilt her head like she was listening to something no one else could hear. The other children would pause and look at her when this happened, like they were waiting for her to speak. Emma also noticed that the settlement's food supplies were running low. The gardens were not producing enough. The children were eating smaller portions. They were getting thinner. On the 3rd day, Walsh called Emma to his office again. His face was grim. "The eldest have responded," he said. "Their answer is no. They refuse to grant permission for contact. They say the children must be left alone. They say it is for our own protection." Emma felt her anger rise like a wave. Protection? Those children are starving. The eldest say the children are not what they appear to be. They say contact will trigger something dangerous, something that will threaten humanity's place in the galaxy. That is nonsense. They are just children. Walsh held up a hand. I pushed back. I asked for clarification. I asked what the threat was. They refused to explain. They just repeated their order. No contact. No exceptions. Emma stared at him. So what do we do? We follow orders. We stay in orbit. We observe. Walsh's voice was hollow. Those are my orders from Earth Command as well. They have reviewed the situation and agree with the eldest. We are not to interfere. Emma felt something break inside her chest. So we just let them die? We document their situation. We send regular reports. Maybe someone will change their mind. By the time anyone changes their mind, those children will be dead. Walsh looked away. I am sorry, Emma, I truly am. But I have my orders, and you have yours. Return to your station. Emma left his office without saluting. She went back to the sensor bay and stared at the screen. She watched the children move through their daily routines. She watched them share their shrinking food supplies. She watched them grow weaker. That night, Emma made her decision. She went to the hangar bay where the shuttles were stored. The bay was empty except for the duty officer, a young ensign named Paul, who was half asleep at his station. Emma walked past him to Shuttle Bay 3. She began the pre-flight checklist, moving through the steps automatically: fuel levels, engine status, navigation systems, life support. Everything was ready. Emma climbed into the pilot seat and began the launch sequence. Alarms would sound soon. Security would come running. But by then it would be too late. The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Emma's hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. She had flown hundreds of missions. This was just one more. The bay doors opened. Stars appeared in the gap. Emma pushed the throttle forward. The shuttle shot out of the horizon's edge and into open space. Behind her, alarms blared. Voices shouted over the radio, but Emma ignored them all. She angled the shuttle toward the planet, toward the settlement, toward 47 children who needed help. Walsh's voice crackled over the comm system. Emma, what are you doing? Return to the ship immediately. That is a direct order. Emma's hand hovered over the comm button. She almost didn't respond, but Walsh deserved an answer. I can't, sir. Those children need help. Someone has to do something. You will be court-martialed for this. Your career will be over. I know. There was a long silence. Emma thought Walsh had cut the connection, but then his voice came back, quieter now. The landing coordinates are being transmitted to your navigation system. There is a flat area near the settlement that should be safe for landing. Another pause. Come back alive, Lieutenant. That is an order. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. She followed the coordinates down through the atmosphere. The shuttle shook as it hit the thicker air. Fire danced across the view screen as friction heated the hull. But the shuttle was built for this. It cut through the sky like a knife. The settlement appeared below her. Emma could see the buildings clearly now, the broken walls and patched roofs. She could see the children running out of their shelters, looking up at the sky, looking at her. Emma brought the shuttle down in the clearing where Sophie had sat 3 nights ago. The landing was rough but controlled. The shuttle bounced once, then settled. Dust rose around the hull. Emma sat in the pilot seat for a moment, breathing hard. She had done it. She had broken every rule, defied every order. There was no going back now. She stood and walked to the shuttle door. Her hand rested on her sidearm. She did not know what she would find outside, but she had come this far. Emma opened the door. Sunlight and fresh air rushed in. She stepped down onto alien soil and looked around. The children were there, all 47 of them. They stood in a loose circle around the shuttle, watching her with wide eyes. The older ones stood in front of the younger ones, protective and cautious. And at the front of the group stood Sophie, the little girl with dark hair and a too-big jacket. She looked exactly like she had on the screen, small and thin and tired, but she was smiling. "You came," Sophie said. Her voice was the same as in the recording, clear and steady and impossibly calm. "I knew you would come." Emma knelt down to bring herself to Sophie's eye level. The little girl watched her with an expression that seemed too old, too knowing for a 7-year-old child. "Hello, Sophie," Emma said. "My name is Emma. I came to help you." "I know your name," Sophie said. "I have known it since you arrived." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "How could you know that?" Sophie tilted her head. "The same way I knew where your ship was. The same way I know you are scared right now. The same way I know Commander Walsh is watching us from orbit and feeling guilty." Emma stood up quickly, her hand moving toward her weapon. "What are you?" "Human," Sophie said simply. "Just human, but different than you." The other children moved closer now. They formed a tighter circle around Emma and the shuttle. Emma's training told her to get back inside, to lift off and return to the ship, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Where are the adults?" Emma asked. "Where are your parents?" Sophie's expression finally changed. Sadness flickered across her young face. "They left us 2 years ago. They left and never came back." An older boy stepped forward. He was tall and lean, maybe 14 years old, with black hair and serious eyes. "I am Jacob," he said. "I am the oldest here. Let me explain what happened." Emma looked at Jacob, then at Sophie, then at all the other children watching her. She was outnumbered and surrounded. But none of them looked hostile. They just looked tired and desperate. "Okay," Emma said. "Explain." Jacob gestured toward one of the larger buildings. "Come inside. It is easier to show you than tell you." Emma followed Jacob and Sophie toward the building. The other children came too, a silent procession of small figures. Emma noticed how organized they were, how they moved with purpose and coordination. These were not children who had gone wild without adult supervision. These were children who had adapted and survived. The building's interior was cleaner than Emma expected. The children had swept the floors and patched the holes in the walls. They had set up living spaces with blankets and pillows salvaged from the ruins. In the center of the main room was a large table covered with papers and books. Jacob led Emma to the table. He picked up a thick folder and handed it to her. "This is from the research station. It explains everything." Emma opened the folder. Inside were printed documents, handwritten notes, and photographs. She began to read. The research station had been a secret project. A group of human scientists studying cognitive enhancement. They wanted to make humans smarter, faster, better at processing information. They experimented on themselves first. When that showed promising results, they decided to try with their own children. The children had been born here, on this isolated planet far from Earth. They had been raised in the research station while their parents studied them and documented their development. And the results had been extraordinary. The children's brains had developed differently than normal humans. They could process information faster, they could learn at incredible speeds, and most importantly, they could communicate with each other without speaking. Telepathy. The children were telepathic. Emma looked up from the folder. Sophie was watching her with those two old eyes. "You can read minds," Emma said. It wasn't a question. "We can share thoughts," Sophie corrected. "Among ourselves it is easy. With others it is harder. We can sense emotions and surface thoughts, but we cannot dig deep. We are not invaders." Jacob continued the story. "At first our parents were excited. They thought they had achieved something wonderful. But as we got older and our abilities got stronger, they became afraid. They realized we were different in ways they had not planned. Ways they could not control. So they called the eldest," Sophie said. "They asked for help. They wanted to know if other species had encountered beings like us, if there was a way to reverse what they had done. Emma felt sick. What did the eldest tell them? The eldest told them we were dangerous, Jacob said. They said telepathic species were threats to the galactic order. They said we would eventually dominate or destroy normal humans. They said we should be eliminated. Eliminated? Emma's voice came out sharp. They told your parents to kill you? Sophie shook her head. Not directly, but they suggested abandonment. They said if our parents left us here without technology or support, nature would take its course. We would die, and the problem would be solved. And your parents agreed to this? Jacob's face hardened. They debated for months. We could feel their fear and guilt through their minds. Some of them wanted to refuse. Some wanted to take us back to Earth and face whatever consequences came. But in the end, fear won. They left us here with minimal supplies and sealed the planet as a forbidden zone. Then they went home and pretended we never existed. Emma sank down into a chair. The folder slipped from her hands. They just abandoned you, left you here to die. They thought it would be quick, Sophie said. Her voice was calm, but Emma could see tears forming in the corners of her eyes. They thought we were too young to survive on our own. But they underestimated us. We had each other. We had our abilities. We learned to work together. Emma looked around the room at all the children. Some were as young as 5. How had they possibly survived for 2 years without adults? As if reading her thoughts, which she probably was, Sophie explained. We can share knowledge. What one of us learns, we can teach to all of us instantly. Jacob knew how to grow food. Mia knew how to fix machines. Danny knew how to hunt. We pooled our knowledge and skills. We became one mind in many bodies. That sounds lonely, Emma said quietly. Sophie smiled sadly. It is. We have each other, but we miss adults. We miss being treated like children instead of problems. We miss being loved. Emma felt her throat tighten. She thought about her own childhood. Her parents had died when she was 8, and she had been raised by her grandmother. She remembered how much she had needed that adult presence, that feeling of safety and protection. These children had none of that. They had been raising themselves for 2 years. Why did you call to me? Emma asked Sophie. Why not to Commander Walsh or someone else on the ship? Because you were already watching us, Sophie said. I felt your mind reaching out, even before you knew what we were. You saw us as children first, not as a problem or a threat, just as children who needed help. Emma wiped her eyes. She was not supposed to cry in front of people she was trying to help, but she couldn't stop the tears. I am going to take you all home, she said. I am going to take you back to human space where you belong. Jacob shook his head. The eldest will not allow it. They have declared this planet forbidden. If you try to take us, they will stop you. They might even attack your ship. Then we will fight them. One human ship against the entire Covenant fleet? Jacob's voice was gentle, almost pitying. Emma, we appreciate what you have done. Coming here took incredible courage, but you cannot save us. The eldest are too powerful. Emma stood up. I don't care how powerful they are. You are human children. You are my responsibility. All of humanity's responsibility. We do not abandon our children just because they are different. Sophie stepped forward and took Emma's hand. Her small fingers were cold. The eldest fear what we represent. They fear change and evolution. They have been the dominant power in the galaxy for thousands of years, and they want to stay that way. Any species that might challenge them must be destroyed. That is not how humans work, Emma said fiercely. We protect our young. We protect each other, even when it is hard, even when it is dangerous. A murmur ran through the assembled children. Emma felt something brush against her mind, light as a feather. It was not invasive or frightening. It felt like dozens of voices whispering in agreement. You are different from our parents, Jacob said. They loved us, but their fear was stronger than their love. Your fear is there too. We can feel it. But you came anyway. Emma looked at all the faces watching her. 47 children with extraordinary abilities and terrible histories. Children who had survived when they should have died. Children who deserved so much more than abandonment and fear. I need to contact my ship, Emma said. We need to figure out how to get all of you off this planet safely. The eldest are probably already aware that I landed. We do not have much time. Sophie squeezed her hand. They already know. Their ships are on the way. They will be here in 3 days. How do you know that? We can feel their minds, too. From a distance, they are very angry, very afraid. Sophie paused. They plan to destroy this planet rather than let us leave. Emma's blood ran cold. They are going to kill you? They are going to kill all of us, Jacob said. You included. They cannot risk us reaching human space and telling everyone what happened here. The truth would make the eldest look weak. It would make humans question whether the Covenant can be trusted. Emma pulled out her communicator and contacted the Horizon's Edge. Walsh answered immediately. Emma, get back to the shuttle right now. The eldest have sent a fleet. 5 warships are heading to your position. You have maybe 3 days before they arrive. I know, sir. The children told me. There was a pause. The children told you? How could they possibly know? Emma looked at Sophie. It is a long story, sir. But we have a bigger problem. The eldest are not coming to talk. They are coming to destroy the planet. They want to eliminate all evidence of what happened here. Walsh swore. Emma had never heard him curse before. We need to evacuate. Can your shuttle hold all the children? Not safely. Maybe 20 at most. We will need multiple trips. You don't have time for multiple trips. Not with 5 warships incoming. Emma thought quickly. Can the Horizon's Edge fight them? Against 5 eldest warships? We would last maybe 10 minutes. Walsh's voice was grim. But we might be able to buy you time to escape. Get as many children as possible into your shuttle. I will position the ship between you and the incoming fleet. Sir, that is a suicide mission. I know. Walsh's voice was calm now, resolved. But you were right, Emma. They are children. They deserve better than this. Get them to safety. That is an order. Emma felt tears streaming down her face again. Yes, sir. She ended the call and looked at the children. We need to leave. Now. The oldest and youngest first. We will make as many trips as possible. Sophie shook her head. There is another way. What way? Sophie looked at Jacob, then at the other children. Something passed between them, a silent conversation that Emma could not hear. We can fight, Sophie said. Together we are stronger than you know, strong enough to stop the eldest ships. Emma stared at her. You are children. We are the next step in human evolution, Sophie said. Her young voice carried a weight that made Emma shiver. We are what the eldest fear most, and it is time to show them why. Emma looked at Sophie with growing alarm. You want to fight 5 warships? Sophie, you are 7 years old. You are all children. I did not come here to send you into battle. You came here to save us, Sophie said. Her voice was still calm, still steady. This is how we survive. This is how we all survive. Jacob stepped forward. Emma, we understand your concern, but you need to understand what we are capable of. Our parents feared us because we are more than they intended, more than they could control. Show her, one of the other children said. A girl with red hair and freckles. Emma recognized her from the surveillance footage, the one who always carried a smaller child. Sophie nodded. Mia is right. You need to see what we can do. The children formed a circle around Emma. She tensed, her hand moving toward her weapon again. But Sophie held up a small hand. Do not be afraid, Sophie said. We will not hurt you. We just need to show you the truth. The air changed. Emma could not describe it any other way. It was like the atmosphere suddenly became thicker, charged with electricity. Her neural implants began sending warnings. Her vision blurred at the edges. And then she saw them. Really saw them. The children were glowing. Not with light, but with something else. Something that Emma's brain struggled to process. Their minds were visible, connected by threads of pure thought that pulsed and flowed between them like a living web. Emma gasped. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Each child was an individual node in a vast network. But together, they formed something greater, a collective consciousness that spanned all 47 minds. "This is what we are," Sophie's voice echoed, not from her mouth, but directly in Emma's mind. "We are connected. We are one and many at the same time. Alone, we are just children with special abilities. Together, we are something the galaxy has never seen before." The vision faded. Emma stumbled, catching herself on the table. Her head spun. Her implants were still sending error messages. "What did you just do to me?" Emma asked. "We showed you our true nature," Jacob said. "What you saw is what the eldest fear. A species that can link minds across distance, that can share knowledge instantly, that can act with perfect coordination. The eldest have maintained their power through control of information," said a boy with dark skin and bright eyes. Emma thought his name might be Marcus. "They control what species learn and when they learn it. They control who trades with whom. They control everything through manipulation and fear." "But they cannot control us," Mia said, shifting the toddler on her hip. "We can communicate without their technology. We can share information without their permission. We represent everything they have worked to prevent." Emma shook her head, trying to clear it. "Even if what you say is true, you are still children." "Fighting is not the answer." "Then what is?" Sophie asked. "We hide? We run? The eldest will never stop hunting us. They will never allow us to exist. Today it is 5 ships. Tomorrow it will be 50. They will keep coming until we are dead." "There has to be another way," Emma said. "Diplomacy, negotiation. Maybe if we can get word back to Earth about what is really happening here, the government can intervene." Jacob shook his head. "The eldest control all communications between star systems. Any message you send will be intercepted and blocked. By the time Earth knows what happened here, we will all be ash." Emma wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. The Covenant controlled the jump gates that allowed faster-than-light travel. They monitored all transmissions. Even if she could send a message to Earth, it would never arrive. "So what is your plan?" Emma asked. "How exactly do you intend to stop 5 warships?" Sophie smiled. It was not a happy smile. "The same way we have survived for 2 years. We work together. We use what makes us special. Be specific." Jacob gestured for Emma to follow him. They walked outside, back into the clearing where the shuttle stood. The other children came too, a quiet procession that moved with eerie synchronization. "The eldest ships are powerful," Jacob said. "Their weapons can destroy continents. Their shields can withstand nuclear strikes, but their ships are controlled by computers and crewed by beings with biological brains." Emma began to understand. "You want to hack their ships? Take control of their systems?" "Not quite," Sophie said. "Computers are difficult for us. They do not think the way biological minds do. But the crew? The eldest pilots and gunners and commanders? They have minds we can touch." "You are talking about mental assault," Emma said. "Attacking their thoughts directly." "We are talking about survival," Jacob said. "The eldest are coming to kill us. We have the right to defend ourselves." Emma thought about this. Everything in her military training said this was wrong. You did not send children into combat. You did not use child soldiers. It was one of the most fundamental rules of human warfare. But this was not a normal war. These were not normal children. And if they did nothing, everyone on this planet would die. Even if you can affect the minds of the eldest crew, Emma said slowly, you would need to be close to them. Your range cannot be that great. Our range is greater when we work together, Mia said. Alone, I can barely sense emotions from 100 meters away. But all of us together, we can reach orbit. We can reach the incoming ships. How do you know? Emma asked. Have you tested this? The children looked at each other. Another one of those silent conversations that made Emma's skin prickle. We have been practicing, Sophie admitted. At night, when you thought we were asleep, we reached up to your ship. We touched the minds of your crew. Nothing harmful. We just wanted to see if we could do it. Emma felt violated and impressed at the same time. You have been in our heads? Without permission? We needed to know if we could defend ourselves if you turned out to be hostile, Jacob said. We are sorry for the intrusion. But please understand, we have been alone for 2 years. Trust does not come easily. Emma could not really blame them for that. These children had been abandoned by the people who should have protected them. They had every reason to be cautious. Okay, Emma said. Let's say you can reach the eldest ships. What exactly will you do to them? We will show them fear, Sophie said. Her young voice carried a weight that made Emma shiver. We will show them what it feels like to be helpless. We will make them understand that we are not helpless victims they can exterminate without consequence. You will drive them mad, Emma said bluntly. If necessary, Jacob said. But we would prefer to simply make them leave. Make them understand that attacking us will cost more than they are willing to pay. Emma looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond the atmosphere, the horizon's edge waited. Commander Walsh was preparing to sacrifice his ship and crew to buy these children time to escape. And here they were, talking about fighting back instead. Commander Walsh needs to know about this, Emma said. She pulled out her communicator again. Walsh answered immediately. Emma, what is your status? We are tracking the eldest fleet. They will arrive in approximately 60 hours. Sir, the children have a plan, but you need to hear it from them directly. Can you patch this through to the bridge? I want your senior staff to hear this too. There was a pause. Patching you through now. Go ahead. Emma handed the communicator to Sophie. The little girl held it carefully, like it was something precious. Commander Walsh, Sophie said. My name is Sophie. I am one of the children on the surface. We need your help, but not in the way you think. Go ahead, Sophie. Walsh's voice was gentle. I am listening. Sophie explained the plan. She told Walsh about their abilities, about what they could do when working together, about how they intended to defend themselves against the eldest fleet. When she finished, there was a long silence from the communicator. Emma could picture Walsh on the bridge, surrounded by his officers, trying to process what he had just heard. You are asking me to allow children to fight, Walsh said finally, to use child soldiers against an enemy fleet. We are asking you to let us defend ourselves, Jacob said, taking the communicator from Sophie. You cannot protect us. Your ship is not strong enough. But we can protect ourselves if you give us the chance. And if you fail? Walsh asked. If your plan does not work? Then we die, Jacob said simply. But we would die anyway if we do nothing. At least this way we fight. At least this way, we show the eldest that humans do not give up just because they are afraid. Another long silence. Emma could hear muffled voices in the background. Walsh was conferring with his staff. I need to know something, Walsh said. Can you really do what you claim? Can you really affect the minds of the eldest crews from the surface? Sophie took the communicator back. Would you like a demonstration, Commander? What kind of demonstration? Pick someone on your bridge, anyone. We will show you what we can do. Emma heard Walsh give an order. Then, Lieutenant Martinez, our communications officer. She is standing at her station right now. Sophie closed her eyes. The other children moved closer, forming a tighter circle. The air changed again. Emma felt that same electric charge building. A moment later, Walsh's voice came back over the communicator. He sounded shaken. Lieutenant Martinez just reported feeling a presence in her mind, a gentle presence that asked if she likes chocolate ice cream. She said yes, and the presence thanked her and withdrew. Sophie opened her eyes and smiled. Kate does like chocolate ice cream, especially with caramel sauce. She also misses her sister and wishes she had called home more often before this mission. Dear God, Walsh whispered. We can do this to all the eldest crew members at once, Jacob said. We can overwhelm them with fear and confusion. We can make them see things that are not there. We can make their nightmares real. And we can do it from right here on the surface. But you are children, Walsh said. There was pain in his voice. I cannot ask children to fight. You are not asking, Sophie said gently. We are volunteering. This is our choice, Commander. Let us make it. Emma waited for Walsh's response. She knew what he was going through. Every instinct was telling him this was wrong, but every rational thought was telling him it was their only chance. If we do this, Walsh said slowly, I want the Horizon's Edge position between you and the eldest fleet. If something goes wrong, if your plan fails, we will cover your escape as best we can. Agreed, Jacob said. And Emma stays on the surface with you. If this goes badly, she gets as many of you as possible into that shuttle and runs. No arguments, no heroic last stands. Agreed, Sophie said. Walsh took a deep breath that Emma could hear over the communicator. Then God help us all. We fight together. Prepare yourselves. The eldest will be here in 2.5 days. Sophie ended the call and handed the communicator back to Emma. Thank you for trusting us. I am not sure I do trust this plan, Emma admitted. But I trust that you deserve the chance to defend yourselves. Every being has that right. The children began to disperse, moving back toward their buildings, but Sophie stayed with Emma. You are scared, Sophie said. It was not a question. Of course I am scared. I am about to watch children fight a battle that could kill them. We are scared too, Sophie admitted. Her young face looked tired. But we have been scared for 2 years. This is different. This time, we are not alone. Emma knelt down and pulled Sophie into a hug. The little girl was stiff at first, like she had forgotten what it felt like to be held. Then she relaxed, wrapping her small arms around Emma's neck. Whatever happens, Emma whispered, I am proud of you, all of you. You are the bravest people I have ever met. Sophie pulled back and looked Emma in the eyes. We learned it from you. You came when no one else would. You broke all the rules to help us. If that is not bravery, I do not know what is. Emma smiled through her tears. Well then, I guess we are all brave fools together. Better to be a brave fool than a coward, Sophie said. That is what Jacob always says. Jacob is a smart kid. Sophie laughed. It was a small sound, but genuine. The sound of a child being a child even just for a moment. Then her face grew serious again. The eldest are afraid of us, Emma. But they are also angry. When they arrive, they will not listen to reason. They will attack immediately. You need to be ready. I will be ready, Emma promised. We all will be. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. Emma helped the children organize their defense while staying in constant contact with Walsh and the Horizon's Edge. The ship had moved into a lower orbit, positioning itself between the planet and the direction the eldest fleet would arrive from. Walsh sent down supplies. Food, medical equipment, portable power generators, everything that might help the children survive if the battle went wrong. Emma watched the cargo shuttles come and go, wondering if this would be the last time humans worked together with such simple trust. The children practiced their abilities. Emma watched them sit in circles, holding hands, their eyes closed. She could feel something when they did this. A pressure in the air, a sense of vast intelligence moving just beyond her perception. "They are getting stronger," Jacob told her on the evening before the eldest were due to arrive. "The fear is helping. It sharpens our focus." "You should not have to feel fear," Emma said. "You should be playing and learning and being children." Jacob smiled sadly. "We stopped being normal children the moment we were born. Our parents made sure of that." That night, Emma could not sleep. She walked through the settlement checking on the children. Most of them were asleep, curled up together in their shelters. But some were awake, staring at the ceiling or out windows at the stars. Emma found Sophie sitting alone on the wall of a collapsed building. The little girl's legs dangled over the edge, swinging slowly. "Cannot sleep?" Emma asked, sitting down beside her. "I keep thinking about tomorrow," Sophie said, "about what we will have to do." "You do not have to do anything. We can still evacuate, pack everyone into the shuttles and run." Sophie shook her head. "The eldest would just follow. They would hunt us across the galaxy. This needs to end here, one way or another." They sat in silence for a while. Above them, stars glittered in the night sky. Somewhere among those stars, 5 warships were racing toward this small planet. "Emma," Sophie said quietly, "if something happens to me tomorrow, will you tell the others our story? Will you make sure people know what happened here?" Emma's throat tightened. "Nothing is going to happen to you." "But if it does?" "Then yes, I will tell everyone. I will make sure the whole galaxy knows what the eldest did to you, and what you did to survive." Sophie leaned against Emma's shoulder. "Thank you." They stayed like that until the first light of dawn touched the horizon. Then Sophie stood up and stretched. "They will be here in a few hours," she said. "We should get ready." Emma followed her back to the main building where the other children were gathering. Everyone was quiet. Even the youngest children understood that something important was about to happen. Jacob stood at the center of the room. "Positions," he said simply. The children moved with practiced efficiency. They formed a large circle in the clearing outside, sitting cross-legged on the ground. The oldest children sat on the outer ring. The youngest were in the center, surrounded and protected. Emma watched from beside her shuttle. Walsh had ordered her to be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice, but she knew she would not leave unless the children came with her. Her communicator crackled. "Emma, this is Walsh. The eldest fleet has just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 5 ships, just as we expected. They are moving into attack formation. How long until they reach firing range?" 30 minutes. Maybe less." Walsh paused. "Are the children ready?" Emma looked at the circle of small figures sitting so still in the clearing. "As ready as they will ever be. God be with them. God be with us all." Emma pulled out her binoculars and looked up at the sky. She could not see the eldest ships yet. They were still too far away. But she knew they were there. Massive warships bristling with weapons, crewed by beings who had decided these children must die. The minutes ticked by. Emma watched the children. They had joined hands now. Their eyes were closed. The air around them began to shimmer. "Emma, the eldest are hailing us," Walsh's voice came over the communicator. "They are demanding we move aside and allow them to cleanse the planet. I have refused." "What did they say?" "They said we have 5 minutes to comply or they will destroy the horizon's edge." Emma felt her heart hammering. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to buy those kids every second I can." Walsh's voice was calm. "Charging weapons, raising shields. We might not be able to stop them, but we can sure as hell slow them down." "Sir, no arguments, Lieutenant. Take care of those children. That is my final order." The communicator went dead. Emma looked up at the sky. She could see flashes of light now. Energy weapons firing. The battle had begun. The children's circle glowed brighter. Emma could see the connections between them now, lines of pure thought linking every mind. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Sophie's voice spoke in Emma's mind, clear as day. "We have found the eldest crews. We are reaching for them now." Emma wanted to ask what that meant, but she stayed silent. The children needed to focus. Above the planet, the battle raged. The horizon's edge was outmatched and outgunned. But Walsh kept his ship between the planet and the eldest fleet. Every shot that would have hit the surface hit his shields instead, but those shields were failing. Emma watched helplessly as the horizon's edge took hit after hit. Explosions bloomed along its hull. Entire sections went dark. "Hold on," Emma whispered. "Just hold on a little longer." Then something changed. One of the eldest warships broke formation. It veered off course, spinning wildly. Its weapons stopped firing. Then another ship broke away. And another. Emma watched in amazement as the eldest fleet fell apart. Ships crashed into each other. Some fired on their own allies. It was chaos. "They cannot handle it," Sophie's voice echoed in Emma's mind. She sounded strained, tired. "We are showing them their worst fears, every nightmare they have ever had. Every terror buried in their minds. They cannot think. They cannot function. Sophie, be careful. Do not push too hard. We have to. They have to understand that we will not go quietly. They have to learn that humans protect their children." One of the eldest ships turned and fled. It jumped back into faster-than-light travel and vanished. Then another ship followed, and another. Within minutes, only 2 eldest warships remained. Both were damaged. Both were struggling to maintain formation. The lead ship hailed the horizon's edge. Emma could hear the transmission over her communicator. "Cease your attack!" The eldest commander's voice was distorted, buzzing with panic. "We are withdrawing. Tell those creatures to stop." "Those creatures are children," Walsh's voice came back. "Human children that you tried to murder. Maybe next time you will think twice before suggesting genocide." The eldest ship did not respond. It simply turned and jumped away. The last ship followed seconds later. Silence fell over the planet. The battle was over. Humanity had won. The children in the circle slumped. The glow faded. Several of them collapsed completely, exhausted. The older children immediately moved to help the younger ones. Emma ran to Sophie. The little girl was pale and shaking. Emma picked her up and held her close. "You did it," Emma whispered. "You won." "We survived," Sophie corrected weakly. "That is not the same as winning." Emma carried Sophie back toward the settlement. Other children followed, helping each other walk. They looked like soldiers returning from war, too young for such burdens, too tired for such small bodies. Walsh's voice crackled over the communicator. "Emma, the eldest fleet has retreated. I repeat, the enemy has retreated. How are the children?" "Exhausted but alive. How is your ship?" "We took heavy damage. Hull breaches on 3 decks. Shields at 15%. But we are flying." Walsh paused. "Emma, what those children did up there. I have never seen anything like it. The eldest were terrified." "They should be," Emma said. "They should be very afraid of what happens when you hurt human children. Because humans do not forget. And we do not forgive." Over the next few hours, the situation stabilized. Walsh sent down medical teams to check on the children. Everyone was exhausted, and some had nosebleeds from the strain, but no one was seriously hurt. Emma sat with Sophie in the main building. The little girl was wrapped in a blanket, drinking hot soup that one of the other children had made. "What happens now?" Sophie asked. "The eldest will not just give up. They will come back with more ships, more weapons." "Maybe," Emma said. "But now Earth knows what happened here." Walsh sent a message to command before the battle started. He told them everything. About you. About what the eldest tried to do. About how you defended yourselves. Sophie looked up at her with wide eyes. What will Earth do? I do not know, but I know that every human who hears your story will be angry. You are our children, our future, and we failed you once. We will not fail you again. 3 days later, more ships arrived. Not eldest warships, human ships. An entire fleet sent from Earth. They came to take the children home. Emma stood with Sophie, watching the ships descend. Massive transport vessels that could carry hundreds of people. Medical ships staffed with doctors and therapists. Even a few military escorts, just in case the eldest tried to interfere. Do you think Earth will accept us? Sophie asked. Now that they know what we are? Some people will be afraid, Emma admitted. Some will think you are dangerous. But others will see you for what you really are. Children who survived impossible odds, children who defended themselves when everyone else abandoned them, and those people will fight for you. The first transport landed. The door opened and people rushed out. Scientists, government officials, and families. Parents who had been part of the original research team who had left their children here 2 years ago. Emma watched several of the children run toward their parents. Some parents embraced their children immediately, crying and apologizing. Others stood frozen, unsure if they would be forgiven. Sophie did not run. Her parents were not among those who came. Emma had learned that Sophie's mother and father had both died in an accident shortly after abandoning the research station. Guilt and grief, according to the reports. They had not been able to live with what they had done. You are not alone, Emma said, kneeling beside Sophie. You have all the other children. You have Jacob and Mia and everyone else. You have a whole community. Do I have you? Sophie asked quietly. Emma felt tears in her eyes. Yes, you have me. For as long as you need me. Sophie threw her arms around Emma's neck. Emma held her tight. This brave little girl who had called to the stars and changed everything. Over the following weeks, the galaxy watched and waited. Earth had violated the Covenant's law. Earth had defied the eldest directly. There should have been consequences. Punishment, exile. But the eldest did nothing. They retreated behind their borders and went silent. For the first time in 10,000 years, the dominant power in the galaxy had backed down. Humanity had shown them something they had forgotten, that mercy and compassion were not weaknesses, that protecting children was not negotiable, that some rules deserved to be broken. Emma returned to active duty aboard the Horizon's Edge, but she visited the children regularly. They had been relocated to a secure facility on Earth, where scientists studied their abilities while therapists helped them heal from their trauma. Sophie was thriving. She was still quiet and serious, but she smiled more now. She was learning to be a child again, not just a survivor. One day, Sophie asked Emma to visit the observation deck where they kept a memorial. It listed the names of all 47 children who had survived the abandoned research station. Our names, Sophie said, touching the memorial gently. You whispered our names when no one else would. You saw us. You remembered us. Emma put her hand on Sophie's shoulder. Everyone deserves to be called by name. Everyone deserves to be seen and valued and protected. The eldest forgot that, Sophie said. They ruled through fear for so long that they forgot what compassion looks like. But you remembered. Humanity remembered. Emma thought about that. About all the choices that had led to this moment. Walsh's decision to send her the landing coordinates, her decision to break orders and land on a forbidden planet, the children's decision to fight instead of surrender. Every choice had mattered. Every act of courage had built on the last. What will you do now? Emma asked Sophie. You and the others. You are free now. You can choose your own path. Sophie smiled. It was a real smile, bright and hopeful. We are going to learn, we are going to grow, and someday when we are ready, we are going to change the galaxy. We are going to show them that evolution is not something to fear, that being different is not a crime. The eldest will not like that. I know, Sophie said, but we are not afraid of them anymore. They tried to make us disappear. They tried to erase us, but we survived. And now everyone knows our names. Emma looked out at the stars beyond the window. Somewhere out there, the eldest were watching, wondering what humanity would do next, wondering if they had made a terrible mistake by underestimating the species that valued compassion over conformity. They probably had, because humanity had learned an important lesson, that when children needed help, you did not consult ancient laws or fear powerful enemies. You did what was right. You broke the rules. You risked everything, and you whispered their names so everyone would know, so no one would ever forget. Sophie, Jacob, Mia, Marcus, and 43 others. Children who had been abandoned but refused to die. Children who had fought back and won. Children who had changed the galaxy forever. All because one lieutenant looked at a forbidden planet and saw children who needed help. All because she chose to break every rule to save them. That was the human way, and the galaxy would never be the same.